Okay, friends, I want to be totally honest with you. Today's topic is not sexy, it's not glamorous, but I promise you this. If you do this one thing we're going to be talking about today, it's going to be what makes any planning strategy that you want to implement actually work. Hey, friends, welcome back to the Work-Life Harmony podcast. All right, so today I want to get nitty-gritty. I want to share with you a tool that I believe absolutely every single person needs to be using. It's not sexy, it's not fun, but it is transformative when you do it the right way. And most importantly, you understand why you're doing it. So here we go. Drum roll, please. Today we're going to be talking about time audits. I know I just heard a collective groan, eye rolls, all of that. But please stick with me to the end because the chances are you have avoided doing a time audit because you misunderstand the intent of it. If I were to walk into a health and wellness specialist today and they told me to do an audit of my food, I would have the exact same reaction. I would be like, oh my God, I do not want to write down everything that I eat. Now, I would also probably change my behavior and not go have another handful of jelly beans because I didn't want to write it down. But again, if I understand the intent and what we're trying to get out of the food log, I will probably be more honest and open to it. So this is what I really want to dive in here today. So first, let's talk about what is a time audit. It's very, very simple. Don't overthink it. It is where you are recording over the course of a day, and I really encourage people to do it for a full week, what you are doing, when you are doing it, and how long you're spending on it. Instead of think of a planner or a calendar where all your time is blocked off with what you're planning on doing. Instead, as you are going through your day, you're writing down what you actually did and how long you spent doing it. And it includes everything. Maybe it's 30 minutes in the morning for getting ready. Maybe it's another 30 minutes for pet care, 45 minutes with the kids. Maybe it's an hour on a conference call. Maybe there's 30 minutes where you're like, I'm not really sure what I just did. I think I checked some messages. Sometimes I'll just put a question mark if I'm like, that was a weird 30 minutes. I don't feel like I did any one specific thing. Maybe you watch TV for an hour and a half. You had dinner, anything and everything, exactly where your time is going. All right, that is what a time audit is. So you're really filling out in real time what you're doing and how long you spent doing it. Okay. You don't need a fancy app to do this. All right. Hear me again. You do not need to buy anything to do a time audit. If you're a paper planner user, just grab a blank week and fill in as you go, or use the Notes app on your phone and record it. You do not need fancy technology to do a time audit. Whenever I do a time audit, I actually just take a blank piece of paper from my weekly planner because it's an undated one, right? And there's always extras at the back. So I just take a blank weekly spread and I am capturing as I go through my day what I was doing and how long I was doing it. Now, I'm not checking in and writing every 5 minutes. I'm usually checking in about every 2 hours or so and capturing how I spent the last 2 hours. Very, very simple to do a time audit. Another way of thinking about it, right, is let's say you were to hire a financial advisor. You're like, hey, I noticed we're just not saving money the way we wanted, or maybe you just wanted to get on top of your finances, have a better understanding of how it all works. Almost all of them are likely going to require you to actually track where your money's going. All right. I'm going to say, hey, let's go look at your last credit card bill, your last bank statements, and let's figure out where your money is going, right? How much of your money at the start of every month is already going to be going to bills that you have to pay that are non-negotiable. Your mortgage, your gas bill, your cable bill, your phone bill, right? They want to know how much of your time or how much of your money every month is already spoken for that you will not have access to, that you need to make sure is there. A time audit is doing a very similar exercise for you. All right. Now, here is why people avoid doing time audits. Oftentimes, similar to the food log analogy, right, is they don't want to feel bad about where their time is going. They don't want to do a time audit because maybe they don't want to do the math to say, okay, I watch TV every night for an hour and a half. Well, over the course of a week, like that's 10 hours or, estimated there. Maybe they don't want to have to say, yeah, this is where my time is going because they are someone that always feels like they don't have enough time and they're behind. They're like, I don't want to see that on paper because it's only going to make me feel bad about myself. And so they don't want to do a time audit. All right. Another reason why I see people push back is they're like, I don't want to feel like I'm, quote, wasting my time. And with this one, again, kind of back to the TV example, I always want to tell people, hey, maybe you are watching TV every night. Guess what, guys? I do. Almost every night. I enjoy it. It's how I unwind at the end of a day. But I don't have any guilt with that. It's a conscious decision. I'm not over here beating myself up that a project that I'm working on isn't farther ahead because I chose to watch an hour of TV last night. Okay, so again, we get to realize this is a time audit just for you, not to go report in with someone else who now gets to make judgment on the choices that you've made on where your time is going. And then another reason why people really avoid the time audit is because, again, they're like, well, if I do this time audit, it might show me that I do have more time than I thought I did. And now I'm going to feel guilty. And this is where it's very subtle, but this is where a lot of people in the time management and productivity space kind of come in a little bit, and it kind of is a gotcha. And I've read about this. I've read books by people in the productivity space saying, "Hey, I have my clients start off with a time audit because oftentimes they're coming to me saying, "Oh, I want to train for this marathon, but I simply don't have the time." So I have them do a time audit, and we uncover that if they stopped watching TV at night and stopped doing this other thing, they would have all the time in the world that they needed to do that marathon, right? And it's a slippery slope. It's a slippery slope because it can, when we carry it too far, that's what dumps us into hustle culture. That's what dumps us into, no, you never are going to sit on the couch and rest for an hour. If you have a big goal that you want to hit, then we're going to make sure from the minute you wake up to the minute you go to bed at night, you are outwardly productive, doing big, massive, meaningful things. And there can be a lot of shame around that, right? And this is why people dread this exercise, is because they're worried it's going to produce shame. They don't want to share it with other people because other people will be like, you have all the time in the world. Here's what I want you to hear. A time audit is for you and you alone. And at the end of the day, the time audit is there to simply be data. It's just information. And then with that information, you are now positioned to make choices that are well informed. Notice I'm not saying they're good or they're bad. Only you get to decide what that is, right? I choose to watch a TV show in the evening. I am well informed on that decision. I do not feel guilty about it, which is why I have no problem sharing that I do that. So this is not about squeezing more out of yourself. Let's talk through a couple examples because usually it lands on one of two ways when I see people do time audits. Scenario number one is someone goes and does a time audit and sees where their time is going all week long, and they have this massive revelation that a significant amount of time was going to something that they didn't even recognize. Right. And this happens a lot for women, especially if you're in a caregiving role. A lot of the time that you spend during a day or a week is typically not reflected on your calendar. Right. There's no appointment there. It's not obvious to go, oh, look, I'm spending 5 hours in meetings. Right. Because a lot of the caregiving work that you do is not reflected on your calendar. But when you go back and do a time audit and see, wow, I spend X amount of hours per day in caregiving mode. Now all of a sudden, it releases a lot of guilt and shame about thinking you should be doing more. Instead, it's like, no, my plate is full. It just wasn't something that I was visually capturing anywhere. And so for a lot of people, they hesitate doing this time audit because they think, oh, I'm going to feel shameful because I should be doing more. Where in reality, 9 times out of 10, the reverse is actually what happens. You get so much more awareness about where your time is going that it actually empowers you to no longer feel guilty for feeling like you're not doing enough. Now, occasionally the flip side can be true. Back to the financial example. Sometimes there are situations where when you're going back and assessing where all your money is going, now maybe you realize, wow, I didn't recognize just how much money we were spending every single month on eating out at restaurants. And maybe you're making a decision of, now that I know that, that actually isn't where I want my dollars to go. Now I know why we weren't able to save for vacation. I'm just giving some examples here. So now you might make a very informed decision to say, I'm not spending my time there anymore. Or in that example, I'm not spending my money there anymore because I really want to go on this vacation. So again, it's not a shame or it's not a guilt situation. It's an awareness of where is your time going. So when you do a time audit, you may discover that there's a significant amount of time every week or month going to things that when you sit back and look at it, you may decide, wow, that really isn't a priority for me. And I really would like to be spending that time somewhere else. And so now that I have that awareness, I now get to move forward with a plan that supports that. This is why I cannot recommend enough for you to sit down and do a time audit with the understanding of this is simply a tool to give you information that then allows you to move forward with your life with intention. All right. Because now you have the knowledge, you know where your time is going, and now you get to make thoughtful, intentional decisions about are there changes that you want to make? Or is there awareness of, yes, there is too much on my plate, right? And I am now going to invest time in figuring out how to get some of it off of my plate. Doing a time audit is not a punishment, okay? And it is not a tool that you honestly need to share with anybody other than yourself. It is just a way to gather information. And it's going to be the thing that is finally going to help you stop guessing, right? About what you're going to do and when you're going to do it and how much time things are going to take, all of that. And it's going to help you start making decisions based on reality. All right. And this is why when people join the top program, this is where they start. They do a time audit, not to report back to me with it, but so that they now have the information as they move through learning the overall planning framework. Doing a time audit is the first step into getting out of reactive living and into proactive living. So I encourage you, if you've not done one, start today. All right. Or if you're listening to this in the late afternoon, start tomorrow. You don't have to wait for a Monday. It's what everyone thinks. Oh, I'll do it next week. Start tomorrow and just track the next 7 to 10 days of your life, right? Just through the lens of gathering information. All right, friends, happy planning. We'll see you back here next week.